Hello and welcome to our storytelling video. Have you ever had a task that seemed almost impossible? Well, that's what happens in today's story from ancient Japan. Listen carefully.
In a Japanese village, there once lived a man who had 2 sons. When the sons were grown up, each brought home a wife from another village a long distance away. The father was greatly pleased with his 2 daughters-in-law, and for many months they all lived very happily together. At last the 2 young wives asked to go home to visit their friends. Among the Japanese in those days, the sons and the sons' wives must always obey the father. So the 2 wives said, "Father-in-law, it is a long, long time since we have seen our friends. May we go to our old home and visit them?" The father-in-law answered, "No." After many months they asked again, and again he answered, "No." Once more they asked. The father-in-law thought, "They care nothing for me, or they would not wish to leave me. But I have a plan, and I can soon know whether they love their father-in-law or not." Then he said to the older of the 2 wives, "You may go if you wish, but you must never come back unless you bring me fire wrapped in paper." To the younger he said, "You may go if you wish, but you must never come back unless you bring me wind wrapped in paper." The father-in-law thought, "Now I shall find out. If they care for me, they will search the country through till they find paper that will hold fire and wind." The 2 young wives were so glad to visit their old friends that for almost a month they forgot all about the gifts that they were to carry to their father-in-law. At last, when it was time to go home, they were greatly troubled about what they must carry with them, and they asked a wise man where to find the strange things. "Paper that will hold fire and wind," he cried. "There is no such paper in Japan." The 2 women asked one wise man after another, and everyone declared, "There is no such paper in Japan." What should they do? They feared they would never see their home again. They were so sad that they left their friends and wandered a long distance into the forest. Great tears fell from their eyes. "I do not let people cry in my woods," said a voice. "My trees do not grow well in salt water." The poor wives were so sorrowful that they forgot to be afraid, and the older one said, "Can we help crying? Unless I can carry to my father-in-law fire wrapped in paper, I can never go home." "And I," wailed the younger, "unless I carry wind wrapped in paper, I can never go home. None of the wise men ever heard of such things. What shall we do?" "It is easy enough to wrap fire in paper," answered the voice. "Here is a piece of paper. Now watch." They watched, and the strangest thing in all the world happened right before their eyes. There was no one to be seen, but a piece of paper appeared on the ground and folded itself into a Japanese lantern. "Now put a candle inside," said the voice, "and you have paper holding fire. What more could you ask?" Then the older woman was happy, but the younger was still sad. She saw now that fire could be carried in paper, but surely no one could carry wind. "Oh, dear voice," she cried, "can anyone carry wind in paper?" "That is much easier than to carry fire," replied the voice, "for wind does not burn holes. Watch." They watched eagerly. Another piece of paper came all by itself and lay on the ground between them. There was a picture on it of a tree covered with white blossoms. 2 women stood under the tree, gathering the blossoms. "The 2 women are yourselves," said the voice, "and the blossoms are the gifts that the father-in-law will give you when you go home." "But I cannot go home," the younger wailed, "for I cannot carry wind wrapped in paper." "Here is the paper, and there is always plenty of wind. Why not take them?" "Indeed, I do not know how," the younger woman answered sorrowfully. "This way, of course," said the voice. Some long, light twigs flew to the paper. It folded itself over, under, together. It opened and closed, and it waved itself before the tearful face of the younger woman. "Does not the wind come to your face?" asked the voice. "And is it not the fan that has brought it? The lantern carries fire wrapped in paper, and the fan carries wind wrapped in paper." Then, indeed, the 2 young women were happy, and when they came to the home of their father-in-law, he was as glad as they. He gave them beautiful gifts of gold and silver, and he said, "No one ever had such marvels before as the lantern and the fan. But in my home there are 2 more precious things than these, and they are my 2 dear daughters."
Wow, that was clever. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Until next time, bye!